Boleh dengar. Assalamualaikum. Ya.
Clear dah?
Okay, alright. Tak, nanti Miza, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Miza, there's a note from your Facebook. I'm not sure whether, because he asked, is anyone available to chat? I have a question. Can you help? I'm not sure.
Okay, I will ask my team to check.
Look at your Facebook. Yeah?
Okay. Thank you.
So Prof Arham, Tanya today.
Thank you, Prof.
So apa ACP
ACP,
ACP, right. Okay. So assistant, apa dia panggil, assistant commissioner of police.
Police.
So mana hand over from Datuk Murtaza ya tadi? Sebab I saw Datuk Murtaza.
Back in 2017 up to 2017. And then 2 tahun post tu tak ada orang isi.
I see. Okay, that is good. Okay, all right. While waiting for people, we have 9 people to be in. Any news? Steven, Sylvie, we have from Indonesia. Sylvie is. Hello, Sylvie. Dia tak ni lagi. now.
Okay.
Okay. Still loud. From Arham, while we wait for Cik Nazri to come in, just to have a chit chat with you a little bit, okay, on this topic, okay. So it seems that this topic is very, very rampant and being talk or discuss around the globe. It's a never-ending story. Okay, that people, especially the industry people, complaining that students now are not meeting the industry requirement lah. We are very timid. Okay, so what actually wrong? Where do we go wrong in terms of education? Are we not training the students enough? We are not giving the right knowledge, or what actually?
So, thank you, Prof, for the chit chat. So, I believe the university, as a supplier of the graduates, has provide, I think, the requested for the graduate that meets the industry punya requirement. But of course, there's two sides of the coin, and one side of the coin too on the industry point of view. So we always receive this kind of feedbacks, but it's only a feedback, and we need to look at on the bird eye view, where we need to look also on the economic perspective. If there's job out there, then probably most of the graduates can be employed. And for sure, at UC level, we try to provide and produce the best graduates based on the industry requirement, right? And we take any feedback seriously from the industry. And I think most of all the industries have done the continuous improvement, especially in producing graduates, not only on their technical capabilities, but also on their soft skills.
Yeah. But that is something. If you look at the World Economic Forum, okay, the emphasis now is the ability to solve the problem, and then surprisingly, emotional intelligence is become one of the skills they emphasize among the students. Knowledge seems to be the low, of course, the top 10, but knowledge is something which is the mid-level requirement. Okay, so maknanya, what is the message now?
So when we look at the education blueprint 2015 to 2025, and based on the latest publication by the ministry on framing higher education for future workforce, they list out about 6 skills or attributes that need to be acquired by the students. And one of the attributes too, based on the study, is on the knowledge set. And the knowledge is very dynamic. Now we're talking about 4IR, for industrial revolution, and so on. There's a lot of other technologies, for example, IoT, big data, especially AI that we're going to discuss today, and virtual realities, and so on. And I believe they need to embed some of the what we call soft skills throughout the program, so that the graduate that we produce will be a balanced kind of graduates. And based on World Economic Forum, they refer to the 3 different categories, especially when they describe on the skills needed. One on the learning and innovation that involve the critical thinking, problem solving, and creativity and innovation, communication, and also collaboration. And other part, talking about information literacy, media literacy, and ICT literacy. So that is the skills that been listed by World Economic Forum is jive with the blueprint that been set in Malaysia.
Okay. don't share all. So we reserve some for the 2 o'clock. When looking at the participations today, so we have participations from Indonesia, from India. Can I call Mr. Gunadi M. Kudrat? Mr. Kudrat? Assalamualaikum Pak Kudrat. It's not here, not responding. Prof. Surya is already in. Prof. Surya? In. Norimi Rosaida dari mana ya ni? Sylvie, is it from MyFin? So we are still waiting, but anyway, right.
Assalamualaikum, Prof. Ros.
Hi, you're back. Hi, Assalamualaikum salam, Mr. Nazri. How are you doing?
Good. Thank you. Yourself?
Good. Are you okay? It looks like you're putting on jacket today, so are you fine, right? Health-wise,
yeah,
fine.
I'm fine.
Yeah? Okay.
In a very cold air-conditioned room. So.
All right. Okay.
How's Professor Arham doing? Busy with the ministers? Sibuk,
Ya, ada busy sikit lah. Ada 2-3 task yang to be completed soon.
Right.
Tomorrow we need to submit one big proposal to the ministries.
Okay.
Finalizing it.
Very
With
grateful
Prof.
that you managed to set aside time for us.
Sure. Sorry about the postponement.
No, not at all.
So last minute, the day before to been asked to go to the ministry, just to
That is definitely more critical because they need your voice for policy making purposes, right?
Yeah.
So based on the policies, hopefully you can update us a little bit more, the non-confidential aspects of what happened there. So every one of us can learn a little bit, one thing or two.
Sure.
The professor.
So congratulations for your new appointment.
Oh, thank you.
Young professor.
Thank you. It took us a while to go through the consideration.
Welcome, congratulations to you, and also to Prof. Arham, just being conferred the ASP this morning.
ACP.
Assistant Commissioner of Police.
Wow, okay.
Okay, so dia kena tabik hormat.
Jangan buat salah, jangan buat jenayah.
Nanti kena tahan.
Kena tahannya. So
congratulations.
Thank you.
Assistant Commissioner Police, ACP.
Yeah. And you too for being appointed as an adjunct professor to Sunway, right, Mr. Nazri?
Yeah, but I cannot arrest people, Prof. Ross. Unlike Professor Arham, I cannot arrest people.
Yeah.
Boleh tangkap orang. Dia lebih powerful. Right, but in any case, thank you once again, Professor Ross for agreeing to moderate. This is the tail end of our 4-episode webinar, right? And there's a lot of contents, a lot of materials, a lot of sharing that
that's right.
Created. So I seek your expertise, advice to work with us to connect all the points together and maybe release a summarized version to all the registered participants who have been faithfully joining us since episode 1 especially, so that they can look at all this UMK MyFinB partnership, how we can produce new knowledge, new content, and new foresight so to speak into what's coming to the workforce. So inshallah, whatever we do can benefit different educators and even students and practitioners.
It could be a white paper actually to present to the ministry actually.
Yeah. In fact, without being too ambitious, even a working paper would suffice. Industry point of view, we just want to piece up certain feedback, certain research together, and certainly more than half will be done. But that working paper can be something that the industries could refer to, and then it can be transcended or promoted into become the white paper.
You can buy it. I think you're most likely always there's so many shops that most likely.
We have some voices there.
No, just give me a sec. Let me adjust some lighting at my end.
Yeah. We have newcomers also here. I think Prof. Hazman Shah is there. Prof. Hazman? Prof. Hazman?
Hear me?
Are
Hello.
you there?
Yes.
Hi. Prof. Hazman, how are you doing?
I'm fine, thank you.
Yeah, it's been a long time. Thank you very much for joining this and listening to these sessions. Okay, so so where are you now? You ITM. You are still at MQA, right?
No, I'm not. I'm finished my term there.
Oh, you
I'm
finished your term
free.
there. Right. Okay. So you're back at UITM.
No, I'm back at home.
Oh, back at home.
Enjoying my retirement.
Don't tell me you are still young.
Yeah, so I'm still keeping myself occupied by this webinar. So thank you, thank you. It's
Thank you. We should thank you for joining and listening to this
anytime.
webinar. Yeah. So another guru on quality and also very contemporary. And we used to work together about the governance, you know, and public administrative. Okay, together with Prof. Hazman.
Dr. Arham is also there. Long time no see. Hi, hi.
Hi, Prof. How are you?
Thank you. Good.
Okay, you can unmute the camera. We can see you,
Yes.
Prof. Hazman.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, there you are. Yeah. Okay.
Hi, Prof. How are you?
Good. Thank you.
Yeah. I'm now in the East Coast, serving the.
I've been following the story for some time now. You left APT.
Yeah.
Okay. So we have another 2-3 minutes. Okay. We have about 17 people in, right? Never mind. We give another 1 more minute or two. Sharp 2 o'clock we will commence the session. Prof. Hazman, what's your take about the emerging technology and how it affects the students today? Not the workforce, students today.
Yeah, the students today are going to be the workforce of the near future.
Yeah.
So they need to be equipped, they need to be ready, they need to be aware within their own areas of specialty, understand how, because the AI is quite ubiquitous now, right? It's not just for the techies, but it is everywhere. Without us knowing it is everywhere. Google uses it, your handphone uses it, almost everything. Word also uses it in a very simple, maybe unnoticeable manner, but it's there everywhere. So our students need to know of this so that as they venture out, whether they're entrepreneur or they're going to be employed in some industry, they know this is a technology that is already available and is going to be coming in a big way. For IR, this is one of the major platforms, so that they can help themselves, help others to use it fully and also responsibly.
I hope you stay on until the last bit because I have one soalan cepu. I want to ask you a soalan cepu mas with regards to whether we should unlock certain MQA punya standard in order to facilitate this new technology into our teaching and learning delivery.
Okay, so you
right.
That's how you hook the audience till the last minute, huh?
Yeah. Okay.
Good one. I intend to stay until the end.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, Prof.
Nazri,
Okay.
He's right in it, so he should be able to tell us.
Yeah, we look forward to this. Okay. So shall we begin, Mr. Nazri, Prof. Arham? Yep. Okay. So yes. It's sharp 2 o'clock now. All right. Okay. Assalamualaikum.
Hello, Ms. Rosin.
Yes.
Hello, Ms. Rose. Thank you from Jakarta here.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much. This is Mr. Kudrat, was it?
Kunadi, yes, right.
Kunari. Okay, all right. Okay, thank you very much for joining. Okay, hopefully you stay until the end. Okay. All right. Okay.
Now.
Thank you. All right. So we have people as usual across the globe. Okay. All right. Okay, sharp 2 o'clock. Assalamualaikum and a very good evening to everyone, especially to our loyal audience and our followers, the two official FB from the MyFinB and also UMK Facebook. Okay, well, so we are back here, Mr. Nazri. Okay, after 2 weeks. After 2 weeks of break, so I'm privileged and honored to be back and to moderate this last series of AI in higher education. So in this episode 4, we are honored to be to have Mr. Nazri again, okay, and the founder and the CEO of the MyFinB. Before I forget, congratulations to Mr. Nazri for being appointed as the adjunct professor in Sunway. So welcome to the club of educators, right?
Thank you, thank you.
And together with Nazri today, so we have a very learned and prominent figure who is a professor in civil engineering as well as technologies, and he is a deputy vice chancellor research and innovations of the University Malaysia Kelantan. Professor Technologies, Dr. Arham Abdullah. So welcome, Dr. Arham, Prof. Arham. Yeah, okay.
Thank you.
So, ladies and gentlemen, if I may recap the last 3 episodes. In the episode 1, the panels have emphasized on the future landscape of higher education and how the higher education can be realigned with the emerging new technology like AI. While when we go into the second episode, panels have deliberated the innovative approach. Yeah, okay. I still remember when I give Cepu Mas question. So both panels says that Malaysian in general is not ready for that. Okay. So, but anyway, there are a lot of factors, including both micro and macro factors, if we were to assure the implementations of AI strategies to be executed well. And of course, we are not just addressing the policy, not just addressing at the institutions level, but we have to address at the policy maker levels. Okay, right. And we also touched in the in the third episode about the 4x4x4 model, okay, which was deliberated, crystallized very well by Mr. Nazri in the episode 3, and relates to that. Okay, the question is that, okay, whether the human resources are ready to implement this new technology. So nevertheless, the infusion of AI technology into the education system lead to, one would ask, what will be the impact on the future human resource? So today, we are privileged to have the two eminent speakers, okay, to deliberate on this topic, yeah, okay. So in this final episode, the two panels going to touch, and I'm sure it will be an exciting one, okay, what will be the implications of AI on the future workforce, okay. Prof. Arham, yeah, as an educator, as an administrator, as well as a technologist, yeah, okay, what would you foresee actually the development and delivery of education program by embracing the emerging technology like AI, and what would it be the future-proof talents? So over you, Prof. Arham, if you'd like to share your views on this. You need to unmute, Prof.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum and a very good afternoon to Prof. Rose and my partner in doing good deeds today. Our distinguished AI expert, Nazri, and to all our audience. I think I'll be given about 15 minutes, Prof. Rose, to share a bit more on the future-proof graduates. So I'd like the Secretariat to highlight the slide presentation. Okay.
Who's controlling the slide?
Supposed to control the slide.
Are you taking over the slides, Prof, or
I
our
think
side?
Prof. Arham is controlling himself, yeah.
Okay, okay, great.
Okay, yeah, we got it, yeah.
Okay. Second. Okay. Okay, when looking at the title given to me as a panel, implication of AI for future workforce, it straight away bring my memories back in 2018 when I was one of the writer for the book called Framing Malaysia Higher Education 4.0, Future-Proof Talents. So today's discussion, I will try to highlight several points in the book and share my experience in handling graduate employment for the past 5 years, 2014 to 2019, when I was tasked as a director for Industry Relations Division at the Ministry. And by looking at the book, Framing Malaysia Education 4.0, Future-Proof Talents, it serves as a guide for public universities and private institutions in meeting the demand of 4IR, for Industrial Revolution. Even though today we'll discuss about AI, but I will try to put into a bigger coverage which focus on 4IR. It was developed through several phases of the book of collaborative and consultative process with various stakeholders. And based on that, this document also referring to Malaysia Education Blueprint 2015 to 2025, which is MAB, Malaysia Education Blueprint, and the initiative in redesigning Malaysia higher education. If you can see the slide, is on the bottom part of the slide. So there's several initiatives have been introduced back in 2015 to 2020 to make sure that the talent graduates that we produce meet the future requirement by the industries. And if you move to the next slide, you can see there, there's a Malaysia Higher Education 1.0, 2.0, 3.0, and 4.0. And over the years, the delivery of National Higher Education Program has transformed significantly from Higher Education 1.0, where centers on teachers as the source of knowledge by employing chalk and talk and teaching method. Then we move to 2.0, where establish the utilization of basic technology practice in the classroom, teach students as receptacles of information and respond to the knowledge. Right? And then we move to Higher Education 3.0, where it encourage dynamic teaching approach by requiring student exploration of real-world problems and collaboration on social learning platform. And then we move to Higher Education 4.0, where it promotes student diversification of role as curators of knowledge, right? Content producer, connection makers, and the web or kita panggil Pakcik Google as an open global curriculum and educators as the resource guide. So there's a significant changes and transformation between Higher Education 1.0 to Higher Education 4.0, right? And on Malaysia Higher Education 4.0 emphasize higher education, higher order thinking skills, which is HOTS, HOTS, compared to the lower order thinking skill, which is, we call it LOTS. So it more towards HOTS kind of engagement, high order thinking skill compared to lower order thinking skill. And then the cognitive domains derive the goals of the learning process, where learners are expected to acquire new skills, knowledge, and attitude, as well as construct their own new knowledge, right? It's not only receiving knowledge, but constructing a new knowledge. And then learners should actively contextualize and produce data instead of only acquiring it, right? And then they need to be able to generate knowledge based on personal experience and also environmental participation. Today, when I look at mostly Twitter, mention about an article called "Data Science: The Key to the Future" by I think based on the Star newspaper. Based on that article, they said it is stated that 12,000 big data scientists are needed within the next 2 years to spur Malaysia data-driven economy. So these are new kind of job that been offered to our graduates. So at higher education level, we need to make sure that we are ready to make sure that the student that been produced is ready for the market. And then it is imperative that human competencies such as emotional intelligence, mindfulness, empathy, and social responsibility to be nurtured at all learning stages. So when we're looking at my higher education 4.0, so we need to make sure that not only the knowledge, but also other kind of skills need to be included in terms of the teaching and learning. And then, despite technological advancement in machine learning and deep learning, robots, AI, they are missing what we call ethics and values. So, value-driven education is very crucial to produce balanced graduates who will subsequently become ethical members of the society. So now, even though we are discussing about AI, IoT, big data, and so on, we believe that the students need to be given or teach the value-driven education, right? Okay, this is my first point that I would like to highlight when we're talking about future-proof graduates. Moving to the next slide, I'd like to touch a little bit more on what called the impact of IR, industry revolution. And then the most critical issue resulting from 4IR are, what is it? Unemployment, of course, and displacement of job due to automation, digitization, robotics, and also AI. And I managed to get some data here. In 2016, study by Oxford Martin School projected that the threat of job loss among developing countries to be 55 to 85%, while the United Nations disclosed that 2/3 of jobs in developing countries might be at risk. Right? Likewise, McKinsey Global Institute reported that 49% of present work activities can be automated, and this represented 15.8 billion in wages and 1.1 billion jobs globally. Then approximately 60% of jobs could have more than 30% of the activities automated, and 5% can be fully automated, right? So that is some statistic, worrying statistic about the impact of 4IR on employment. And I managed to engage with last time with Talent Corp and Ilmia in preparing some of the report. And Talent Corp last time back in 2017 been tasked to prepare what we call critical occupation list, COL. And that COL was established, and one of the COL that been linked to the 4IR the rise of course, AI and also IoT linked occupations such as software developers, application programmers, system analysts, and data scientists, as well as engineering occupation For example, electrical, mechanical engineering, and also engineering science. So these are the new job opportunity for our students. If they just graduated, means that if they are not been trained at that specific skill or technologies or knowledge, so this is where you need to reskill, unskill, and also relearn the new technologies and the new tools that probably is the requirement now by the employer. And then further to emphasize on these issues, I think Malaysia graduates will have to adapt quickly, right? And acquire digital focused skills which will determine their future marketability, right? So these are some of the skills needed, and this is where we focus on the students, but on the higher institute of higher learning. So we need to prepare our graduates on this skill also. So there's two focus area that we need to enhance, which is the educators and also the students. Malaysian higher education institutions must play their role in producing future-proof graduates, right? Tailored and prepared for the immersive education. We combine the virtual world, simulators, learning games, and sophisticated learning skills in line with the Malaysia Education Blueprint. Digital literacy, critical thinking, and problem solving, and help them to thrive in the 4IR and the necessity for future-proof graduates. Now, when we're looking at future-proof graduates, to change the slide. I capture the screenshot from the book related to the impact of the 3 domains, okay? Talking about economy and business, society and government, and the impact on higher education, and what are the measures by the higher education providers to tackle these issues. I'm not going to go through one by one, but probably the audience can view the slide. And in digital economy, businesses transform from shifting from a transactional model, which focus on solely on selling products, to a relationship model, which centers on selling services. Right? During this COVID-19, for example, you can see a lot of logistic company make profit because of a lot of online deliveries need to be taking place to deliver the online orders from the customer. So the relationship model which center on selling service and creating deeper connection with the customers is the way forward, right? And then the emergence of big data as a result of data integration supported by AI that probably Cik Nazri will explain in detail later. Digitalization and connectivity drive innovation, okay, across growing numbers of products and services. For example, machine learning algorithm analyzes billions of transactions, okay, and based on that, it creates needs and also demands to make business. One second. Okay, it will create what we call a new businesses to tackle these issues, right? And for example, non-automatable jobs such as sales and marketing that require negotiation skill are sought after, right? It's not only sales and marketing, but with the negotiation skill, will make sure that the student or the graduate have the higher potential to be employed. And then the emergence of new technologies creates entirely new ways of serving existing needs and significantly disrupt existing industry value chain. Apart from that, there is greater demand for high skilled talent in service industry, right? Like I mentioned just now. And then despite the concern for job displacement, automation and digitalization, create a new job. For example, data scientists, data analysts, robot designers. Recently, we been introduced with Makcik Kia, one of the robot by UTM, been deployed to during the temporary hospital in Bukit Jalil. And also not to forget maintenance engineers. So these are the new jobs that have been created based on the fourth industrial revolution. Not to forget AI skills for technologies. How long do I have, Prof. Rose? Mute. You are on mute.
Oh, sorry. Perhaps I will allow you another 2-3 minutes. That be fine? Okay.
Sure. And moving to the next slide. This is where, when talking about future-proof graduates, we're not just talking about the knowledge, the technology, but talking about other skills need to be embedded for the students. Last time, MOHE acknowledged the importance of humanizing new technologies despite the shift in national education blueprint, and the balance between akhlak and ilmu is crucial to shape the 4IR to meet the nation needs. Hence, three components of akhlak, for example, ethics and spirituality, leadership skill, and national identity. So these are Malaysian kind of framework, as well as the three components of ilmu, language proficiency, thinking skills, and also knowledge. And the part of knowledge, this is where the 9 elements of technological advancement in the era of 4IR, as you can refer to the slide. Industrial robot, 3D printing, industrial network security, knowledge work automation, virtual realities, AI, artificial intelligence, industrial internet, industrial cloud computing, and industrial big data. So these are the framework on when we're talking about how we're going to prepare future-proof graduates. And by looking at mapping the future-proof skills, so as you can see on the left side is the listed skills from the Malaysia Education Blueprint, talking about graduates attributes. There's 6 graduate attributes, and based on World Economic Forum 21st Century Skill, they are divided into 3 columns: learning and innovation, digital literacy, and career and life kind of skills or attributes. So when comparing with both of the based on the table, so we can see critical thinking, problem solving, creativity, innovation. That's new skills additional to the knowledge that you need to be embedded with the students that will be graduating soon. Okay, and based on that, for Malaysia, based on the list maps skill illustrated previously, 9 Malaysia-proof, future-proof skill sets are identified and need to be learned and practiced by Malaysian students from A to H. And the 3 attributes, which is lifelong learners, multiple intelligence and competency. It's not enough with IQ, but based on the study last time, we encourage them to have other skills, for example, EQ and also SQ. And also, last but not least, on the attributes is on the computational thinking. Right? And to conclude on this session, I think what we need to focus is on related to 4IR bring forth a new range of jobs such as AI, machine learning, robotics, nanotechnology, talking about not only 4D but 3D but 4D printing, and also genetics and biotechnology. So this will cause widespread of change, not only for business models, but also labor market. And the new skill set need to be embedded in teaching and learning based on higher education institution. And future-proof talent, for example, for 4IR, must possess about 9 skills that have been summarized just now, and 3 future-proof attributes, as I mentioned just now. Right. So I believe in preparing a future-proof talent, these are some of the skills, attributes need to be embedded especially in teaching and learning, to make sure that we can prepare graduates that employable. And of course, during the chit chat just now, Prof mentioned about what are my advice on the students and so on. So based on my presentation, I believe these 9 skill set and also the 3 attributes need to be embedded. The student need to have these skills to prepare them for the future. Thank you, Professor.
Okay, thank you very much, Prof. Arham. You actually have drawn the framework of the future-proof talents, but then the important points that you have highlighted, the balance between the 3 components of akhlak, or we put it as a spiritual quotient maybe, yeah, a spiritual quotient, and the knowledge plus the ilmu. Knowledge is ilmu, yeah, you put it in ilmu. So I think that's quite vital. In fact, it looks like a very fundamental to be addressed in nurturing the future talents. Okay, well, I'm going to get back to, I can see some questions already being posted there, but I hope the audience will stay tuned till the end of the sessions. I will allow the questions to be posted to the panels. Okay, Mr. Nazri, you are from the industry, yeah? Okay. So what do you think from your experience, what sort of future job be created by the disruptions of technology, and how or to what extent the emerging technology may transform the human resource environment? Over you, Mr. Nazri. Yeah.
Thank you, Prof. Ross, and thank you, Professor Arham. I've learned quite a bit of things from Prof. Arham earlier on. Before I answer your question, Prof. Ross, may I just take a leaf or two from Prof. Arham's key points earlier. He shared a little bit about the Malaysia Higher Education 4.0, and this has relevance to your question subsequently. But I've heard him speak about how learners are producing contents. They become, more attuned to getting information from the web. Learners become connectors, open access to information, and everybody become content creators of some sort, right? So central to this, right, for AI to be involved, there's something that links up everything called data, right? Everything about your content, about your curriculum, about the exchange, about the network has to have information or data. So to your question as to what sort of jobs will evolve from this IR 4.0, the HE 4.0, and so on and so forth, upon graduation, graduates will realize that central to their job functions, regardless of whether they are frontline, mid-office, or back office, they have to deal with data all the time. So there are manual approaches to dealing with data, and there is the AI-driven approach to handling data. And this is where the challenges posed to the graduates of tomorrow becomes very real. Whoever knows how to manage data best will certainly be successful and will be ahead of their peers. Okay, so imagine a scenario where you have lots of data points. I'll give you 10,000 data points. 2 graduates come to me. Okay, so I say to graduate A, okay, please analyze for me this set of 10,000 data points. Tell me what has happened to the data, what happened to the trend, what is the trend, what causes a trend, what could be seen into the future, the outlook of such trends. What do you recommend this to be done after looking at the trends and the scenarios? And then how do we monitor them? So I will pose this question, 2 sets of people, same qualification, everything, assuming everything is the same, grades, personality, character, leadership, yeah, for argument's sake, right? And then you ask them, okay, analyze for me. Okay, what can you tell me? Okay, then they start using the 10,000 data points in multiple form, right? So imagine graduate A, that would take 2 weeks to actually process the data, because in school they are given at least 2 weeks or 2 months of assignment, you know what I mean? So they will take their time, okay, you know, do their own work and do some research, do some understanding. So obviously he or she has to pick up the skills as it comes along, right? In a data-centric organization. So the other situation then will be somebody who, through self-teaching or self-taught, or you know, their own taking on private courses about how to analyze data analytics and so on, regardless of whether you're from engineering or medical or whatnot. Now, that person then be able to create a visualization of those data points almost immediately, okay? Because he or she knows how to design and manage the structure of the data, which is in this case structured data. Then he value adds to it by scraping information from the web to supplement and complement the analysis brought in by the structured data. And then he starts to make modeling, he starts to do regression, he starts to predict, you know, what are the best case, base case, worst case scenario, okay, in terms of what each you know, set of data could bring upon the analysis, right? And then he or she is able to predict the future and make recommendation, because he or she detected the gaps, he or she detected the issues relating to the data. Now, between graduate A and graduate B, the commonsensical question then would be, you know, who you would have hired, right? Who would you hire, and why would you hire graduate A or B over A, and vice versa? So this is the very simple scenario, but very real, that every employer basically faces, the industry faces. It's not difficult to get a lot of people or graduates with good GPAs, with excellent resume, with excellent grades, with excellent curricular activities. Nowadays, with even with EQ put into the whole equation, even with all the other leadership attributes to the equation, in today's environment, unfortunately, we need more. It's not a question of whether the industry is more demanding now, but the industry is facing greater challenges than it never faced before, you know, in the past. So the digestion and ingestion of data becomes central key point ahead of any other skill set that comes along with it, but managing data is very key. Then once you know how to do it, the rest of it will follow suit, right? The ability to humanize it, the ability to talk to people, they need one another, the attributes need one another, right? But at the end of the day, right, the core competency that is needed, regardless of whether you're finance, non-finance, economics, non-economics, engineer, non-engineer, medical, non-medical, right? You need to have that ability to handle information. And information has to be handled either manually or automatically. And to handle automatically, you cannot depend on expensive tools. Then you can do the job. You can't ask for a fancy car, then you can drive well, right? So you need to have that ability to understand, manage, process, interpret, analyze data, even as a fresh grad. And mind you, there are people who can do that. I'm happy to say there are some graduates, unfortunately it's less than 5%. Out of say a cohort of 100, you know, applicants, less than 5% will be able to have what we want. And the question is, what do we do with the rest of the 95%? If they continue to exhibit a very reactive way of looking at things. So that becomes a key thing, regardless of any job you take. The ability to handle data, Prof. Ross, is very key. Yeah. Prof?
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Thank you very much. Okay. I was touched when Mr. Nazri was saying, well, I should call you Prof. So Nazri. Okay.
No.
When you talk about the challenges, yeah, do you think today the university basically have invest rightly or enough in the context to promote the new technology in order to facilitate the right learning tools for the students and also the educators?
It all depends on each university, I guess. But you can take a look at the curriculum, the activities, the syllabus, the industry engagement, as to what extent, how many initiatives have they carried out in a year or in a semester when it comes to robotics, automation, AI, right? Because this is what's happening to companies and industries. Universities are not affected in terms of economic sense through robotics, automation, and AI directly. but industries will be the first to be felt, to feel the impact, right? And when you put it into the context of universities, then the question is, how many competitions have any universities participated and won, right? How many patents or how many projects have they done with industry pertaining to these three areas: robotics, automation, and AI? Because this is what we all have been disrupted by, right? And not just in Malaysia, but anywhere else in the world. Unlike the Western counterparts, which hire and fire people, quite directly, but for Asian culture, it's a bit different. We are a bit, refined, a bit more careful in a way. People. So it's a bit of a cultural thing thrown in also as you talk about the level of disruption. And when we talk about all these three elements being, impacting companies worldwide, the universities then have to step up, right? And they have to look at their entire offerings. I'm very amazed and impressed with UMK's initiatives, the Entrepreneurship Center, the AI Center, the Data Center, and all that. So it's a classic example of how we move along with times, and then we continue to participate, organize in events, events organized by private sector, participate in competition, against the Japanese, the Europeans, the Americans, and so on. So you are then able to benchmark yourself against the best. So this is where universities have to set a certain standard, not just locally but globally, and that's what makes a difference to a university from an innovation perspective.
Yeah, right. Thank you for that deliberation. Okay, when Prof. Arham mentioned just now, okay, even based on from the readings, the World Economic Forums, and also the Dougherty and Wilson's book, The Human and Machine. Okay, there was some, in fact, since 2016, 2018. Okay, in view of this rising technology and IR 4.0, it will affect jobs will be lost. Yeah, okay. But I read one of the article recently by the Accenture report, okay, that what it said in the Accenture report that AI will produce more jobs than it displaces. And this was confirmed by one of the CEO, Dennis, who actually the founder of XAI and who developed the system for the military in the US, saying that 2/3 of their employees, it's actually being created, but with the new skills, okay? And if there are students audience today, I'm sure they'll be very scared, especially those who are in the social science and the arts discipline, right? Because so much has been emphasized about data scientists, computing scientists, okay? So where would the social scientist students, I call it, or even the arts and business student would go in the future? So any one of you would like to take the cue? Prof. Arham or Cik Nazri?
Okay. So,
yeah, go ahead first. I will add on shortly.
Yeah. So I believe, as I mentioned just now, the ability to learn, unlearn, and also relearn is the skill needed for our graduates to make sure that they are more marketable when they go out there. On the social science students, some of the universities have taken extra mileage, where they have introduced data science subject to all their graduates programs, right? So this is to make sure, like Cik Nazri mentioned just now, the ability mentioned about for the ability to digest and also ingest the data to make sure that it becomes information. So these are a few skills that needed, not only for science students, but also social science students. These are general skills.
Nazri, you want to add?
Yeah, beyond, Akin, you mentioned about social sciences, right? And how how AI impacts them. And
how they're being affected, yeah.
I will add on the humanities side, I'll add on the performing arts, right? I'll add on all these so-called soft skill humanities type of role. Now, again, I mentioned about data being central to all of these information, right? You look at the humanities, social sciences, performing arts. Let's start with something simpler like performing arts, right? When you have drama, music, you have the cultural activities. Now, how does AI basically replace them, take over their job or take over their performances? You have robots dancing on stage or performing in a live forum? No, right? So, but what the people who pivot themselves in this field is that they start to create their own Netflix platform. They start to think about iFlix platform. They start to think about what do you call that? The music side of things. I subscribe to him. I can't remember the name. Spotify, right? So when you are musically inclined or inclined towards a subject that is very humanities-based, arts-based, right? You also deal with information. The ability to use technology to predict what's the latest trend, what's the latest genre, what's the upcoming trends pertaining to certain interests or genre becomes key, and that supplements their work, or rather their interests, especially in the performing arts side. So there are many billionaires that became billionaires, that people became billionaires because of their interest in music, the ability to let you play or learn piano without having to go through classical traditional courses. I spent more than 10 years learning piano. Now you can learn off the internet, with a lot of guidance and all that. So a lot of technology is being applied into things like this, and in a manner that shortens the whole learning process. So taking years, you can do it in days and weeks. You can literally learn how to play ukulele, for example. As far as social sciences are concerned, like whether it's history, whether it's geography, whether it's organizational behavior, psychology, organizational psychology and all that, you're dealing with information, you're dealing with data, the ability to profile the different types of people, different types of geographical situation, the ability to map, the countries across the globe in a shortest period of time, and the cities under each country, that can be supported by technology, right? Just a moment ago, I was very upset with my daughters, a couple of weeks back, when they could not tell me where is Nigeria, or where is Zimbabwe, for example. Upset in a fatherly concerned way. So they got a little scolding from me, okay, and within a week they could start not only memorizing but remembering all the 190 over countries from one continent over the other continent, all over the world, and the cities that comes underneath, the GDP per capita and all that. I was wondering, how do you do it? Certainly they learn from school, right? How do they learn from? They learn from an online platform. Internet, and there are very user-friendly tools with lots of visualization. You talk about gamification, you talk about user interface, UI, UX, and so on. So it speeds up the whole learning process. And I couldn't remember all the 190 plus countries, even though I traveled to probably 60, 70 countries of them. But they can pinpoint specifically, and then the information that comes in and gets segmented by the system, right? The platform, the free platform, is able to reinforce the learning. Okay, so this is where I'm the key to winning, the key to leading a particular knowledge area in your peer group or above your peer group lies with your ability to manage data. And how to manage data, manually or automatically. So obviously the latter is the way to go, regardless of any topics you take on, whether humanities, social sciences, or performing arts. The ability to handle information is key. And how to make the data or information more organic, make it go through the 5 levels. You must be able to describe, you must be able to diagnose, you must be able to predict, you must be able to recommend or prescribe. And last but not least, is you must be able to monitor real-time data and data as it comes in. Okay, and this is where the human needs to be imbued. The future graduates need to be imbued with this ability and equipped with the technology without having to invent technologies themselves. And this is where later on in my slides, I'll show an example of how we emulated this MIT, to promote drag and drop, application development through the system or platform called Scratch. Some of you may know it very well, but I was amazed by it 2 years ago. And that Scratch idea from MIT led us to be able to create AI as a service, or AI as a platform to many users without having to learn programming for the adopters. So this is where we come from. And we are very keen to see how Malaysia can play an important role to export such technologies externally or globally. Yeah.
Right, thank you for that. Okay, in other words, that human and machines must collaborate.
Absolutely. Not
Yep, correct.
replace. Never,
Not
never
replace,
replace.
but they
I don't
must
believe in that.
collaborate. Okay, so as to augment but not replace. Yeah. Okay. The humans. Right. I'm going to take up the questions here from Prof. Hazman. Okay. Prof. Hazman mentioned here public universities. His point of view that public universities still underinvest in the ordinary edutech. Will they be able to dedicate more resources to all types of edutech, including AI, with the current level of funding and pricing of these services? Any one of you wants to respond on this?
Point. Yeah, Professor Arham, please.
Prof. Arham, from educator's point of view?
Yeah. So you mentioned about public universities still under invest in the ordinary edutech. So edutech definition quite big, especially talking about section on teaching and learning and other. We can talk about edutech also on research and innovation. And probably I would like to highlight on teaching and learning. During this COVID-19, all the universities been forced to make sure that they are equipped with the specific technologies and also platform so that they can conduct teaching and learning online. So that's part of it. And as you can see, for the past few months, as I'm staying at the management of the universities, so we put up quite a big sum of investment to make sure that we are ready and to reduce or to minimize the engagement with our students, especially while preparing the info structures and also infrastructures on IT. So I believe the universities now are more prepared talking about edutech, especially on teaching and learning, right? And more investment putting in to make sure that we are ready. Talking about research and innovation on edutech, at UMK, for example, artificial intelligence and big data center have been created back in 2018, right? And this is to make sure that we have the technologies and also the tools to assist our other faculties to make sure that we are entrepreneurship universities. So to create startup companies, spin-off companies, you need to have a technology base or IPs. And then based on that, we need to look at the data available to develop the business plan, a good business plan for the specific startup company or spin-off companies. So at UMP, we have put up some investment in preparing that particular facilities, especially talking about edutech. Yeah? And inshallah, this year or early next year, we will introduce what we call a new program on IT. But this time around, the module, we engage with our partners, for example, Alibaba's and also Huawei, in preparing the modules or the syllabus. Right? So I believe the university have identified these are the key factors in futures to move from our normal day-to-day engagement using a traditional way of teaching and learning. So I'm also mentioned just now in my slide, we are moving toward higher education 4.0, where we need to provide a lot of platform so that the student can benefit from that platform, especially getting more information, knowledge from out there, and the educators as to facilitate the teaching and learning material. Right? So I believe I can see the trend I can comment in UMK where we put up extra investment, especially talking about edutech and so on. And one other important point is last time we also preparing our smart classroom kind of things, but now we are moving to another platform. This is my input on the edutech.
Okay, thank you very much, Prof. Arham. Okay, let me take another one questions. Another questions from Prof. Dr. Kudrat from Indonesia. Okay, if I get it wrong, please correct me if Dr. Kudrat is around. The questions posed to Prof. Arham specifically, coming from researchers of the US, from US experience, okay, the US, I think the US president or US government predict the impact of digitalization in 10 years time, okay, in universities, okay, will only survive around 30 to 40%. So what do you think about this? This is from our Indonesian scholar, yeah.
Let me check.
Is it true? It will only last because technology evolve, right? Okay, so now we say that we are into 4IR, but the China said they are already into 5IR, 5th IR. So we do not know what's next, okay? So we are into the cyber world, we are using the new technology. So
okay, in preparing the book that I showed just now, so we have also predicted some of the what we call the university model of the future. So in the university model of the future, we have predicted about 4 quadrants. One, there's no change. Okay, and then second one is a marginal change, where we call it what we call jukebox university. Tailor-made based on the needs of the students. And then there's another model called adaptive change or Uberized universities. We call it Uberized universities. And also the fourth one is radical change. There's no university, they have a nano or micro certification.
So is this like a virtual university or something
Virtual
like that?
Like a Netflix kind of universities. Whatever you want to watch, you can have it. No? Whatever you want to learn, you can have it by selection of your needs and the expectation from the industries. And then based on that, in the book also we mentioned about the four quadrants, and talking about the faculty members. Okay? On the no change kind of university, like traditional university, there's still professors and lecturers. But for the radical change, the nanostication, for example, the professors is the professional, right? So like expert, AI expert like Nazri will be the professors. So the reference point. Okay, and he can produce his own content, and he can be viewed by throughout the world, right? And the certification might be given by one specific universities for endorsement, right? That's some of the example of the changes of 4IR to our universities. But these are all the prediction, and we have predicted the 4 model of the future of the university.
Right. Thank you very much. Chancellor, you want to add? Looks that you want to add something on this.
Yeah, I basically agree with Dr. Prof. Arham. It's just that I saw some of the questions that I think best to be addressed to by Professor Bala, Dr. Bala.
Yeah.
May I touch on that in view of time? Because I still have some slides to cover, and I just want to see the opportunity to answer some questions along the way. Is it okay?
Sure.
So,
from Prof. Bala, you want to read through?
Yeah, a majority of SMEs in Malaysia are very much skewed towards labor intensive, not really to AI in the workplace. So I was actually typing halfway that SMEs firstly need to identify what AI can do. Is it to increase sales or marketing activities? Is it to reduce costs? Is it to improve margins through new business models using AI? So AI becomes not ready when it's viewed by these business owners as a good to have. Okay, it's an option, it's a good to have thing to do. But when it comes to need to have, it comes to pivoting, when it comes to using data to get more business, using data to price properly, using data to manage your cash flow and value your business carefully when you want to sell or divest part of your business for fundraising. It suddenly doesn't become a need to have, good to have. It becomes a need to have situation. So when they are educated enough and they are aware of what AI can do in terms of valuing their business, raising funds, matching investors to you, working out your costs, identify where are your margins not doing well and how to introduce new business model. If AI can do that, then I'm sure they will start to think that it is no longer a situation where they're not ready. They have to be ready and use ready-made platform like an AI platform to give like a robo-advisor to them. So this is where the world is moving towards speed, efficiency, accuracy, and impact, you know. So AI must be able to achieve all that. So this is where I think it becomes a very important consideration. And what AI stems from is basically data, right? It stems from data. So what do we mean by that? We can talk about accounting, finance data. We can talk about marketing data, HR data, and operational data as shown in my slide. So a very important consideration, number one, is knowing what are the roles and jobs that are being displaced for certain employees and how to make them beyond just being counters or beyond just searching online for data. How do you automate that and develop these people, this very same personnel who's affected, to do their accounting finance work more efficiently? That means instead of doing administrative work in accounting finance or data collection work, they do more than that. They do data analysis, they do recommendation, they start to connect with people and, you know, explain to management what are the ways that the company can improve. Likewise for marketing. So instead of you knocking on doors, you know, instead of walking around, drive across states, look for business, or start organizing campaigns on a physical front, all this can be done digitally. You can even identify what are the emerging trends, who are your best customers, who are your worst customers, what sort of price to sell with what sort of products, where to sell, to which channels to sell. So AI can basically process all the unstructured and structured data and makes recommendation on where is the best place to market your product, you know, the 4 P's of marketing and so on and so forth. So and this goes on and on, you know, and your HR, your operations, marketing, and accountants, right? You can be potentially displaced simply because the employers don't know what to do with you, and you don't upgrade yourself to tell the employers what you can do going forward. Because the 2 examples I gave earlier, right? I give you a set of 10,000 data points to graduate A, graduate B. Graduate A will take longer to do and will stuck, you know, don't know what to do with such, you know, high volume of data that they never faced before. But on the other hand, a graduate is very comfortable with data, able to massage the data, able to make sense of the data, will be most treasured because data comes in every day to the organization, you know, in accounting, marketing, HR, and operations. They become an all-rounder. They don't become a specialist. Which is a very important part. You know, there's always a big debate about whether the future graduate should be a specialist or generalist. I think this is something that I am willing to throw back the question to both of you. Prof. Arham, do you think a generalist or specialist would be most sought after in today's crazy, you know, unpredictable, volatile setting?
Okay, all right. On that note, Mr. Nazri, would you like to continue with your slides? Do you have any more slides you want to share with us?
Yeah, okay. So
yes. We still have 5 minutes.
Yeah, very quickly. So bottom line is you must be kata bahawa tempurung if we don't understand the forces of technological changes that coming our way, right? So we all know that they must do something about it. Let me see. Okay. And then basically we must transform the workforce in this, become either job creators, you know, people who work well in the gig economy, and something we call AI-preneurship. It's a new term that we came out, that people without having knowledge of programming and all that can be able to adopt and practice AI. So how do you do that? How do you beat the perception that AI must be done only by data scientists who knows Python and R or TensorFlow and so on? You know, so there are solutions for that, and I'll tell you a very simple story later on. So we feel that the arrival of AI into Malaysian industries and workforce are indeed coming our way. We've been in this market for 14 over years. In Malaysia, 10 years ago, 5 years ago, AI was non-existent, very quiet. Everybody will avoid AI at all costs. now the situation has changed tremendously in the last 3 years. We call it 8 under 8. What are the 8 AI technologies that are most likely to impact the Malaysian workforce under 8 years? So in the next 8 years and under 8 years, I might say that the 8 sectors or jobs will be affected. And what are these? Accountants, educators, practitioners, journalists, financial planners, HR practitioners, marketeers, investment analysts. The technology of AI will impact these 8 on Malaysian shores. Okay, so this is where that narrator is meant to be educators. That means teachers and academics. So I won't go through everything in terms of the demo, but I'm just showing you that in accounting practice, in auditing practice, people have begun to adopt the process of analyzing accounting data, financial data, even the process of auditing that has been automated. Okay, and it allows auditor to determine what are the risks out there and whether it's high risk, medium risk, low risk, and how to handle those risks and what accounting standards are prevalent to this each of the risks. So this is where things become very, very fast, quick, efficient, and you don't have to worry about going through hundreds of thousands of journals, ledgers, entries, and all that all can be analyzed. And the other one will be in the legal and court setting. So here you can imagine how SMEs and corporations can evaluate the risks and counterparts in contract before engaging lawyers. Means that before you actually meet your counterparty to sue or be sued, right? So you can determine what's the likelihood of you winning the case, or even when you enter a contract, how likelihood the contract will stay foul, will remain foul, or remain fulfilled. And third one is education. We talked about personalized learning before. So educators and teachers can now look at personalized learning methods to basically teach their students based on their personality, learning attributes, and so on and so forth. I think we showed this before in the previous sessions. But essentially, then we talk about journalism, socio-political insights, where you can basically, without having to rely on editors or journalists or people, that you have a robot that can, a robot that can basically, let me go back a bit, a robot who can actually write stories and write contents and so on. So, okay, there's a little issue there, but moving on, case study 5 is financial planner. So again, there are about, how many? 3,000 financial planners in Singapore, probably the same in Malaysia, that needs to do planning for you, right? In terms of your income, your expenses, your insurance and all that. So again, those in the industry, in this industry like insurance, financial planning industry, financial advisory, don't have to rely on a lot of manual work to basically anticipate the financial profile of somebody. So you can basically evaluate their personality, their economic outlook. You can talk about their finances, and then the system can map out, what are the ways in which they can save money, create more money, avoid risks or gaps, and how many properties to own, and so on and so forth. So it's all about, human touch is still necessary, but before the human touch comes in, somebody wants, probably some kind of independent and objective assessment, and not for them to sell products to you. I think this is where it does. The 6 technology, 7 and 8, will relate to marketing. Again, I mentioned earlier, human resources, I mentioned that earlier, about how with the HR data that you have, you understand the people's personality, you understand their learning gaps, you understand the learning style, you understand the competency gaps in an organization. So you have a system that's able to map out a career roadmap or a L&D roadmap, learning and development roadmap for them, so that each employee can be addressing their own gaps and weaknesses. And last but not least will be on investments. So you don't have to rely on brokers or analysts or gossips, to basically know when to enter or invest into a stock or jump into a stock without checking the fundamentals of a company and so on and so forth. So we can profile people based on their risk profile. We can look at recommend the stocks based on their risk profile. And then based on the risk profile of a company, then you look into the fundamentals, not through gossip, not through a binary code options, not through statistics alone, but look at the fundamentals of a company. How much is it intrinsically valued, for example? So you don't have to learn 5 years to learn how to invest. Okay, you basically have the machine helping you to think in the right way. So just to finish off my few slides, in order to make the things ready for the graduates, we have a program called FRG, Future Ready Graduates, to help them with the portfolio skill set. Like I said, everybody can have a good GPA, right? Everybody can have good leadership, nice personality and all that. But bottom line is we want to have the right mindset, the right skill set, and the portfolio of industry. So we'll explain to you more of this program later on. But I want to share with you a little bit about the Scratch example. So what inspired us is that MIT actually came out with this program, this free program that my daughters were sent to in Singapore, and basically they can program their own interactive stories, games, animations, and simulations, all through drag and drop. Without having to learn programming, they can create apps, they can create games, they can create different settings that have scoring mechanism, live credits, and lessons and contents, all inside it. Okay, so this inspired me. In under 1 week, they can basically do all this. And how about if we do it for adults, right? If kids can do it at this very generation, at this very zaman sekarang ni, how about if we do a mini sketch for adults where professionals and practitioners can develop their own AI platform? Why must we go through the programming R, C++, and Python and TensorFlow and all that when you have people like platform like MIT to be able to do that? So we learned from that for 2 years, and then we built what you call the AI as a service, right? So we built a prototype under 5 days. We launched within 4 weeks, and then we commercialized within 4 to 12 weeks. So it's a very rapid development prototype where the users are able to design their own, platform, and then launch it to the market, right? And as a result, we have a wide portfolio and done under 1 year, for example. So many projects can be done under 1 year, and we start to roll out to government, to a listed company, to one of the world's richest men's foundation, and so on and so forth. This is just to name a few. Okay, so we are very excited about that because the idea is we feel that the FRG is a program of what Prof. Dr. Arham was talking about, right? The HE 4.0. It's about connectivity, about linkages, about PPP model. It's about preparing, placing, and have them persistently deliver performance for these graduates. So we hope to carry out this FRG program together with UMK and all other universities to target 100,000 youth in Malaysia as phase 1 of the FRG program. And with this, we are able to, show some impact and bring graduates into projects that creates employment. So it's not just about projects, right? It's about, giving students opportunities to be AI-preneur, to be job creators, and to be able to be involved in a sector that is like what we were talking about just now. There's a shortage of data scientists. So instead of data scientists alone, we can create AI-preneurs, people who are recruited into a program that's able to build solutions for the industry immediately. And these are all 20-year-olds we're talking about, with guidance from the mentors, the older mentors and coaches and so on. So it sounds idealistic, but it's not. It has been implemented in the last 6 months with various universities, and we hope to do this in a big way, in a bigger way with UMK for bringing from prototype in the room, okay, to the commercialization, impacting tens of thousands of people. And jobs can be created, income can be created, right? Innovation can be harvested as a result. And like I said, this is just one of the many examples that we have, and we hope universities, private sector can work together. There's no exclusivity in all of this, it's inclusivity. I think that's what we are after. With that, thank you so much, Afros. Yeah.
All right, thank you very much, Cik Nazri. So we are already at 10 minutes over 3. Actually, okay, Prof. Arham has actually drawn the overall framework, what would the future-proof talents would be, okay, and what we need. And both panelists have actually emphasized, okay, these are the new skills, these are the new roles, and how do we transform the traditional jobs into the new kind of roles and skills that needed by the students, okay. But the bottom line is that, okay, what should we do? we know that we need to have to produce a critical thinkers, you know, we need to have to produce a very highly conceptual who are able to solve complex, but what do we need to do in the within the ecosystem that we have? So that is so I also echo, I think I saw Prof Hazman also mention about that. Okay, what can we do? Yeah, okay, right.
So okay, what can we do? So at UMK, for example, yeah, we will work closely with Cik Nazri, MyFinB, on this special project as you mentioned just now. That's one of the examples. And I believe at the Ministry last time, I managed to do one program with, for example, with Microsoft. We call it MOE Microsoft Data Scientist Program. This is to reskill the student from several backgrounds, from engineering, from social sciences, and so on, to go through the 6-month program. And when they go through the 6-month program, they've been teach on data engineering, data analytics, and to how to analyze the data on the real case basis by using Microsoft platform, for example. And at the end of the day, they will need to attend examination where they need to fulfill all the 9 badges, and these badges can be value add to their degree certificate, right? So, and when I look at other universities, they have a specific program where now they are focusing more on industry certification programs, right? So these are some of the new trends where degree is not enough, right? So they need to embed the degree program with this industry certification program to make sure that the student is ready or have more potential to be employed after they graduate. And at the university side, I believe more investment need to be put into, especially on the infrastructures and also the infrastructures towards moving to the near future.
All right. Okay. Thank you very much. Okay. Before we move into the post sessions, okay, allow me to close the sessions formally. All right. Okay. I must thank to both of you who have shared and your views. Okay, what will be the implications of AI on future workforce? I think Prof Arham has mentioned about the future landscape of the learning, the courses that has to be introduced in the university currently in order to keep abreast with the emerging technology and the current future of industry. While Mr. Nazri has actually focused on the tools and how it can be, what sort of jobs, new jobs being created in view of the disruptive technologies here. So on that note, I would like to thank everyone here who's been passionate and following the 4 episodes of this AI in higher educations, and those who are very keen to continue with us, please stay back. And to the others, okay, thank you again on behalf of the organizer, and to Prof Arham and to Cik Nazri, okay, thank you for the wonderful sharing since episode 1, 2, 3, and 4. So wassalam, and thank you very much again. Yeah, okay.
Thank you for the excellent presentation, Professor Rose.
Okay. Yeah, not to worry about that. Okay, Prof Hazman here, and we need to pick up a few more questions here. Okay, I agree that we need to be, if you look at today's situations at the universities, I'm not sure whether the universities are ready and fast enough actually to address the changes in the business environment and the future industry. So I'm not sure to what extent actually the university is actually ready. You know, if you ask me, I don't think we are yet ready.
You're not alone, yeah. Even in the private sector, banks are not ready, insurance are not fully ready, the listed companies are not fully ready. We will never be fully ready. I think the question here is about how equipped are we to handle in modular phases. So I think if you look at how McKinsey looks at things, right, you have two options. You go one shot, you know, or you go in stages, or you do in series of pilots, right? So I think the best way for Malaysian organizations or even universities is basically to focus on a step-by-step approach, and hence you will never be, what do you call that, fully ready in that sense, because you already cut your phases, cut your implementation in phases, right? And you have to do that because if you go in a big way, you will suffer big also. That means you put big bets, you get big losses, right? So, but if you do small bets and you basically learn from the mistakes along the way, there'll be exponential, what do you call that, knowledge learned from it.
Exponential effect.
Because a small problem can cause 80% of the issue, right? So, you know, 2-3 issues can cause 80% of the problem, for example. So you need to find that 20-80 strategy in all your pilots and all your stages. That has to be the way. Nobody wins by betting big in that way, because technology is just too fast.
You're right. You're right, Nazri. Ahmad would like to say something? Rather than I read your ini, so you would like to ask directly to the panel?
You are you talking to me? I didn't get.
Yes.
For me. No, first of all, thank you for the opportunity and also the privilege. I immensely enjoyed the discussion as always. But one of the things, I asked several questions. There's so many questions that pops up in the mind, but the typing is slower than the thinking. And I'm part of the older generation, not really a digital native. I don't know what to classify myself as. But my biggest observation is this: universities have been reacting for the last 20 years, right? I mean, I was in the university for the last 36 years. We always have been reacting to changes that were in the environment, and by the time we do something with the towards the changes, and then we're on to the next changes, and now we're on to OIR, and specifically, I mean, talking about AI and things like that. So it seems to be like we're always reacting to something. We're not looking back and taking stock and see how has the last set of changes and has actually faded down, become more coherent, a part of the institution before we add on. So we are constantly grafting something on, and they do not necessarily all come together seamlessly, right? They are a hodgepodge of things. We still have bad old practices together with some good new techniques and tools. So they're all hodgepodge. So you take any one of the university, none of them have given up their old. If you look at any one of the university structure, it's the same as the first university in the world. We have a vice chancellor, we have 2 to 3 deputy vice chancellors, then you have faculties, which are made of fortresses, and then you have departments, and then at the end you have the what we call the students, right? That has never changed till today. The symbols have changed, the walls have changed, the wallpapers have changed, but the structure is still the same. The architecture is still the same. So you're using an 18th century frame of a plane and trying to fit modern avionics to fly in this age to outer space. I'm afraid it will just come apart in its seams, because you have to build it all over to fit the new avionics, right? So AI I'm talking about is fitting the newest, but the body is actually in the 18th century, right? University of Bologna, it's the same structure. So the university has not actually, has changed. I mean, I can understand that there's a lot of marginal symbolic changes on the periphery, but at the heart and the DNA of the institution is not changed. It's still the same. Academics control everything, right? It's very hierarchical. It responds to criterion, not to data. One of the speakers, Nazri, was talking about how you have to become data-driven and should be able to draw insights and information from data and act on it. Institutions are criterion-driven. You set them a criteria, they will defy anything from anywhere and follow the criteria. If the ministry says you're going to be measured by this, they will all go in that direction. And it might be the opposite direction to what you are saying right now, right? So universities are, that's why I said some of the discussion need to be much more nuanced.
Brutal.
Right? Much more nuanced, and also I have to be quite brutal, because some of the time when we talk, we have to talk really brutally about what it should happen, right? So that we can actually move forward rapidly. We will still move forward. UMK is a good example. We'll move forward, but whether we can move forward in unison as a concerted sector, that is left to be seen, and whether in subsequent phases we'll be able to graft all these things into a nice whole, or we will still be moving. That is one of the major concerns. The other is, I don't know whether university is actually still relevant in the new fourth industrial revolution period, as is right now, unless it really seriously does some thinking about whether the model that has served the mission all this long is still the good model to move forward. May not be the right model moving forward. We have to think of something different, right?
Yeah.
There already are other models in the market already, which are doing very well.
Yeah.
I think the University of tomorrow is not necessarily a YouTube, because maybe Udemy is a University of tomorrow. Subscription based rather than enrollment based. On demand, so many other things, but that's some of the things that immediately comes to my mind. Right.
Thank you for your need. I think Prof Arham just now have mentioned, has discussed with the predictions of the future. There are 3-4 types. Okay, so Nazri, what's your take on this? Okay, what will be the future university, you think?
You see, I don't mean to oversimplify things. Coming from an entrepreneurial and pragmatic perspective. So please forgive me if I sound very simplified to oversimplifying things. See how the university can be very relevant, okay, for the industry. And I'm sure you all know this, but I'll give you a specific example, is to understand the pain points of the industry or the policymakers and come up with solutions to address that, either through industry projects or through the curriculum, syllabus, preparing the students for the future. So to put in perspective, like, do we know what are the top, let's say, 10 pain points of the banking sector? Do we know what are the top 10 points of the agricultural sector? Do we know the top 10 points of the manufacturing auto sector? So drill down on that, speak to the industry, validate and confirm that those are the industry pain points. Go back to the drawing boards, work with specialists in those fields, right? And involving AI, for example. And then you start building few things. Kill many birds with one stone. Number one is you have the industry experts coming in, work with the academics, come up with a solution to address the top 10 points per sector, right? Number one. Number two is the knowledge that you have, turn it into a syllabus or curriculum, right?
It's breaking. Your voice is breaking now. We can't hear you.
It's off the screen. Can't see his video also.
Yeah, never mind. Okay.
Some of the trials and tribulation of technology.
Yeah, it was sometimes when we talk about the new technology coming into the education, we don't want to be seen what I say.
Into your undergrad or
okay, now Nazri is back.
To be learning how to do for is that you basically have the lecturers involved as a call together, bringing the university revenue, bringing the connected. Hello. Yeah, did you miss what I said, or was I
yes, we missed certain points actually just now because you broke.
It's broken, is it? So I mentioned about the circular economy within the university. I mentioned about how the industry pain points are brought into the university. The university brings in the subject matter experts, co-share it with the lecturers and co-consultant, bring the students over to be exposed to the project, curate the knowledge into a curriculum to be fitted into your undergrad or postgrad program, right? And then basically forge better ties with the industry. So all you need, it all starts with the pain points that is truly felt in the industry, and not take 6 months to finish that job. Take in 2 weeks, 3 weeks to come up with a prototype to handle that. So there's a way to do it. Following the Scratch MIT example, there's a way, and do it 100 times, with 100 lecturers, with 100 students, and few times over a month or over several months. And then that's where the university becomes more relevant. Okay, so it's not just about working with the big boys, but working with good individuals who can bring value to the organization, the university, and the industry level. Sometimes having a good branding is important, right? Alibaba and Huawei and all that. But sometimes getting the right individuals or expertise, they are out there. I'm talking about some smart Malaysians out there running some startups that you can pull them over. They could be 25 years old, 28 years old, or ex-banker or something. Sometimes they are full of brilliance. Give them a chance and you see that they can come up with very innovative and very creative solution. Because they're small, they are mobile, they are very agile, as opposed to a big organization with all the infra. So it's all about balance. Even for us, we work with big boys, we also work with startups and few individuals who are smart, even from the academic side. So this is where diversity of talents and skill set is very important. Yeah, that's my quick take on it.
Yeah, I think one of the challenges that we have not addressed clearly is about the legal environment that surrounds the educations to be more active and active in executing their role as a knowledge provider. Okay, though when you said just now, both of you said about the university has to be relevant to the industry, we have to be robust. Okay, but sometimes the restrictions that we have, okay, from the government, the ACTA, the AUKU, and also the MQA comes in, everything. So it seems like they are tying one leg and ask us to run on the other with one another leg, right? So what's your cue about this, Prof. Arham? Okay.
Last question to Prof. Azman.
Yeah.
MQA.
You're asking me about for the QA body? Yeah. Let me tell you this. The number of times we have actually, in my 20-year experience with LAN and then MQA and going into institutions, one of the things that surprised me is how stale the programs are. Right? They have nothing to blame with KPT or MQA or anyone else outside. It's just that the university system is the most bureaucratic compared to what KPT or MQA can do. The university system itself is so bureaucratic, you know, from the department to the faculty to the senate to another. So most people are scared to do anything because they see this is climbing Mount Everest within the university. So when they come to, and then we say, why did you not do any changes within 6 months if you think it was valid? Oh, it's just too much. So there's a lot of this inertia within the university to really empower people to change. And sometimes what happens is both within and without the university, there are good, what we call bogeymen. So usually they say, oh, MQA won't agree, things like that. In fact, in the MQA standards, you should change your program in relation to, in collaboration with all your partners, things like that, as quickly as is necessary for you. So right now you may have to do it every semester, not even every 2 years, every 1 year. The things are so in such a rapid flux. So there is this degree of rigidity. And I'll give you an example. When you talk to people in the banking, okay, I'll give you names, Dr. Hamida, one I think is Hanisa or CIMB. They have said, I do not know why you all have degree in banking anymore. Who are you talking to that tell you that you need a degree in banking to work in the bank? We don't need people in banking because the bank has become automated. It's all system-based. We need people who are good graduates, people who have got good academic standing, which means they've got a good mind, a well-trained mind, and they can come in here and then they are robust, they are resilient, they are innovative, they are able to communicate, they can work in teams, they can take on challenges. It doesn't matter whether you got civil engineering or banking or law or economics, because when you come in at that level, you're not going to be an economist first. You're not going to be a legal analyst first. You're not going to be developing systems first. It's at the very top and it's specialized, right? But look at the universities. They have banking departments. They've got banking programs. They're still graduate students. So that's a case in point. is.
But don't you think we need to have that little knowledge, the basic knowledge of the discipline?
Oh, it could be any knowledge. Could be in humanities, social sciences, because they're talking about a good graduate, one who has gone through the mill, has got a good mind, he can learn, he can articulate. So that's what they want. So having knowledge in microeconomics is not going to really make you work better, because they're going to be dealing with systems later on. As you go up, some of this can be useful, but many of this can be learned on your own and on the job as well. So they don't need someone. So they are surprised. This is coming from people in the banks, HR people in the banks. They said they're not looking for, they are recruiting all kinds of people across the board. So they have no particular preference for any particular discipline. They have preference for good graduates, and good graduates can come with any content knowledge, right? So that's a case in point, but that is reflected in many ways in many disciplines and things like that. So we are not data driven. We are not driven by changes as rapidly as we should.
As we should, yes.
As we should. So so the system is actually not primed to react quickly. It reacts slowly. Nazri was talking about big data, things like that. Very easily, the universities can address this through the research program. But universities tend to address the research program in terms of publication. They are not talking about decision making, right? In industry, how to deal with big data to help you draw insights that make you more valuable, and so on and so forth. But the training is about how to use this data to publish for another industry. That industry has nothing to do with, in fact, I would argue,
and to push our ranking.
Kind of industry that Nazri is talking about, right? So we can easily change the research program into arming the students to deal with big data, right? For decision making rather than for publication, which is a completely different animal. So it can be done, but it requires you to give up very precious old practices and values. You need to give it up.
That's right.
And say let's switch, right? So you need that front and that front to really break away from the group and say, no, we're not going to do the same, a little bit differently from the old. We're going to completely redraw these things, right? Go back to redraw and say, I'm not interested in your research and your technical analysis and all these things. It's still useful, but the orientation is now big data for decision making. Actually, for decision making, how can we get more information, right? So it can be done.
Right. Okay, thank you. Yeah, thank you very much for your inputs as well. Okay, Prof. Azman. Okay, so I think we have to end here. Okay, thanks again, Prof. Arham, Nazri. Okay, and everyone here was still stay tuned till the last minutes came. So hope to see everyone again in the next series.
Thank you, Roselina. Thank you.
Thank you to all. Yeah.
Always a pleasure. Continue with the good work.
Thank you so much, everyone. Bye-bye.
Yeah, thank you, Chancellor. Bye.